In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your front right CV axle on your Mazda 3. It's located behind your right front wheel. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to remove our lug nuts. Make sure you have a hand on it. Remove your wheel. All right, I'm going to use a 10mm socket to take out this bolt. This is definitely aftermarket. You might have an 8mm. And there's one more here. Ours is a push pin. Yours will be a bolt. The actual shield above is broken, so there's nothing to attach it to. Now we're going to use a 10mm socket to remove these bolts. Again, you may have an 8mm socket. Just make sure you have a good hand on it so it doesn't fall. Remove your splash shield. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to take out these two bolts to get off this splash shield. Now you're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver and take out this push pin. And you can pull it off. I'm going to hold the stud of my sway bar link on the back side with a 16mm wrench, and this nut on our vehicle is a 14mm head. Remove the nut, and then you can remove your bracket for your ABS sensor and also the sway bar. Set that off to the side. Now we're going to unplug our ABS sensor. Press down on the tab and remove the connector. You can set that off to the side. Using a pair of wire cutters or needle nose pliers, you're going to remove the spring clip for your hose. And then take your brake hose out of there. You may need to wiggle it back and forth if it's rusty like ours. There we go. Just set that to the side. And now we're going to remove our axle nut. Using a punch, we're going to unping the axle nut. Now using a 32mm socket, we're going to take the axle nut off. Now we're going to make sure the axle nut is free by using a punch in the center here and just giving it a little. Feels pretty good. Now let's take out our bolt for our strut. Using a 17mm socket, we're going to take out this pinch bolt. We're going to use our tool to spread the knuckle off the strut. You can also use a cold chisel, and at the same angle, you're going to bang into that and separate this out. I put an exhaust clamp on my lower control arm to help me pry down on it with a pry bar. So I'm going to stick it in here, and it'll help pull down that control arm with the knuckle and pull it off of the strut. Now you can grab a sledgehammer. So we're going to free up our knuckle. Now grab a long pry bar and put it between the clamp and the control arm. And that's going to help you pull down on it and get that knuckle away. You may need to tap it with a sledgehammer as you're prying down. Looks like we're getting close. We're going to pull it down and away and free up our axle. So now we're going to turn our wheel and pull the axle out. I'm just going to support the weight of the axle on my spring like this. That way I can detach it from the inside. You're going to want to bungee up your knuckle so that there's not too much stress on that brake hose. So this isn't being kinked or pulled on too far. Now you're going to get a pry bar in here. You're going to pry in between that space between this bushing and the seal and gently just pop it out. If your pry bar doesn't work, you can try hitting it, and it should come out. Now we can take our axle down by unhooking it from the bungee and taking it out. Now we're going to put our axle in. I'm going to feed it up the same way it came out. Line it up slightly. I'm going to put it in my bungee cord up here. Get the weight off. I have my C-clip with the opening on the bottom, which is going to make it easier to get the axle on. Now we're going to hammer our axle on once it's engaged in the spline. All right, we're in. So once you give it a good whack and it's all lined up when you do it, it should get over that C-clip and then your axle will go in. Now we're going to take our axle nut off, set it off to the side, and we're going to guide it into our knuckle and hub. Once we're in this position, we're going to undo our bungees. Now I have my pry bar where my exhaust clamp is on my lower control arm. I'm going to pry down. Make sure my axle is in there properly. And guide my strut into my knuckle. There we go. You can put your nut on your axle. Make sure your back bracket is lined up in the back and slide your strut back up. As I hold it up with my pry bar, I'm going to stop my pinch bolt. Get your bolt started. You're going to see it come through the other side. You can stop, undo your bungee. Now we're going to put our sway bar link back. Turn the wheel if needed. If you need to, pry underneath the sway bar link bar to get the sway bar back in. Now you can put your ABS wire and bracket back and put your nut on. Now we're going to tighten our sway bar link. Make sure you hold the back to keep it from spinning. Just going to snug it up. We're going to torque this to 35 foot-pounds. Connect your connector for your speed sensor. Put your brake hose back in its bracket. And then slide your spring clip back in. As is a bit rusty, it's going to take a little persuasion. Now we're going to tighten and torque our pinch bolt to 50 foot-pounds. When torquing your axle nut, you're going to want to put a pry bar between two lug nut studs just so it prevents it from spinning while you're trying to tighten it down. Using a 32mm axle socket, you're going to torque this, you're going to tighten and torque this to 200 foot-pounds. All right, now that we've torqued our axle nut, we're going to peen it over with a cold chisel and a sledgehammer. Make sure that the nut is pushing in this indent here. That'll keep it from backing off. Now we're going to put a splash shield on the side for the fender on using our 2 bolts. One there, one here, and this push pin. I'm going to start with the push pin and tighten my bolts up. Now you can go ahead and put your engine splash shield back on. It goes above this shield on the side, and then that slides into that, and there's one on the other side that slides into this side. That'll help hold it up for you. And I'm going to start with my back corners here. Make sure that you put your splash shield above this little corner here. You may have an 8mm for that side, but we're using a 10. All right, so our shield above on the side is broken, so we have nothing to attach this to. I don't think we're going to need anything there with all the other fasteners, so I'm going to leave that be. Now let's go to the other side. All right, so your middle bolt first will help hold the rest up. And now I'm going to put my bolt in here. We had a grommet here, a plastic grommet. The splash shield and the radiator bracket is broken, so we're using a push pin. If you also have missing parts, you can make do with other things. Install your wheel. I like to walk my wheel on using this bottom lug nut and then tightening in a star-like pattern. We're going to torque our wheel to 85 foot-pounds in a star-like pattern. And you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.